Hey guys, this is Dan from EDM Academy, and in this video I'm going to be showing you the interface of Massive. Now, I'm only going to be giving you a basic rundown of each section here, and then in later videos we'll be covering them more in depth. Now, the first thing I'm going to be covering are these front panels here, and then in part 2 I'm going to be going over this middle section in here. First, you have the oscillator section, and Massive comes with 3 oscillators. Oscillators are the basis of your sound in this synth. Now, on each panel, we have an on-off switch. Underneath that, we have our pitch. And up here, we have our wavetable selection. You can select multiple different wavetables. Now, if you don't know what a wavetable is, I'm going to be going over these more in depth in a future video. Simply put, a wavetable is a sequence of different sound waves that you can blend together with Massive's wavetable position knob. For example, if your wavetable only contains 2 waves in it, such as the square saw that we have above, putting the knob all the way in the right position will give you just a saw wave, and placing it all the way in the left position, you will hear only a square wave. If you put the knob in the middle, you will hear a blend of square and saw waves. Massive comes with a variety of wavetables that range from simple to very complex. The intensity knob controls your wavetable further depending on what mode your wavetable is set in. If you're in spectrum mode, it simply controls the number of harmonics present in your wave, although there are bend plus, bend minus plus, bend minus, and formant modes. In each of these modes, the intensity knob will do something different, and I will be going over this in a future video. Next to that, the amp knob independently controls the volume of each oscillator. On the right, we have a slider that controls which filter each oscillator will be sent to. Finally, underneath all 3 oscillators, we have our modulation oscillator, and this can change the sound of your oscillators in a variety of different ways. Okay, next we have our filter section, and each filter has an on-off switch. Next to that, we have our filter selection, which has the standard low-pass and high-pass filters, as well as a variety of special filters. Each filter features a cutoff and a resonance knob, and some filters take advantage of a middle knob. Depending on which filter you have active, the middle knob will do different things. When I select the scream filter, the middle knob becomes the scream knob. And when I select the band reject filter, it becomes the bandwidth knob. On the right of each filter, we have a slider that controls the output volume of each filter. On the left side of the filters, we have a slider that moves between serial and parallel processing modes. In serial mode, the signal first flows through filter 1 and then is passed through into filter 2 and then outputted. In parallel mode, the signal flows through each filter at the same time. Finally, on the right, we have a mix slider, which lets you blend the 2 filters together. At the bottom, we have our insert effects section. You can use these to add a variety of effects to your sound. As always, we have an on-off switch and our effects selection. Each effect comes with a dry-wet knob, as well as a second knob to control the actual effect. While the insert section is used to add effects in the middle of your signal path, the master effects section is used to add them at the end of your signal path. Massive has 2 master effects slots available, and each one allows you to add a number of standard effects, such as chorus, flanger, reverb, phaser, and so on. Each effect has a dry-wet knob, as well as 3 other knobs that allow you to control the effect in question. Now, it's worth noting that some of the effects available on FX slot 1 are not available on FX slot 2. In the same panel as the master effects, there is an EQ tab, and this has a low shelf and a high shelf, as well as a 1 frequency band boost or cut. The frequency knob allows you to select a certain frequency, and then you can use the boost knob to either boost or cut that frequency. Above this panel, we have the amp panel, and this allows you to specify which of the 4 envelopes you would like to use as your amp envelope. You can see by default, this is set to the 4th envelope. Also in this panel is a master pan knob. To the right of this, we have our bypass feature. Now, when the slider of this panel is brought all the way up, it allows you to have one of your oscillators bypass the filters and the insert effects section. By clicking on the B next to each oscillator, you can select that oscillator to be bypassed. And by selecting the arrows on the right, you can select where that bypassed oscillator ends up. This is useful for blending an unfiltered and unaffected oscillator with filtered affected oscillators. In the bottom left is our noise oscillator, and this comes with the standard white noise as well as a variety of other unique sounding noise oscillators. The color knob controls how bright your noise sounds, with all the way to the right being the brightest. The amp knob, as always, controls the volume of your oscillator. And this oscillator, like the regular oscillators, can also be assigned to filter 1 or filter 2. Next to this, we have our feedback section, and this allows us to put part of our signal into a feedback loop. And in our routing tab here, we are able to select where this feedback takes place. Now, wherever you select the feedback to happen, part of your signal will bypass the rest of the signal flow and be put into a loop. And finally, we have our macro control section, which comes with 8 macro knobs as well as MIDI control options. Now, the way this works is you take one of the knobs and drag it to any of the modulation boxes in Massive. Click and drag on these boxes upwards or downwards to select a control range, as shown by the yellow line, and then all parameters are controllable via one knob. Aside from the 8 macro control options, we also have our 4 MIDI control options, which consists of key tracking, velocity, aftertouch, and trigger random. The Save MIDI button allows you to assign these knobs to a MIDI controller and then save your configuration. Okay, that does it for part 1. Join me in part 2 and I will go over the middle section of Massive, which includes the various setting tabs as well as the modulation tabs.